Plautia gens. The gens Plautia, sometimes written Plotia, was a plebeian family at ancient Rome. Members of this gens first appear in history in the middle of the 4th century BC, when Gaius Plautius Proculus obtained the consulship. Soon after that, magistracy was opened to the plebeian order by the Lex Licinia Sextia. Little is heard of the Plautii from the period of the Samnite Wars down to the late 2nd century BC, but from then to imperial times they regularly held the consulship and other offices of importance. In the 1st century AD, the Emperor Claudius, whose first wife was a member of this family, granted patrician status to one branch of the Plautia. Origin. The Plautii of the later republic claimed descent from Leucon, the son of Neptune and Themisto, the daughter of Hypsias, king of the Lapiths. The coins minted by Publius Plautius Hypsias depict Neptune and Leucon. The nomen Plautius is derived from the common Latin surname Plautus, flat-footed. Chase classifies the name among those gentilicia that were either native to Rome or which occurred there and cannot be shown to have originated anywhere else. However, other scholars have suggested that they may have come from Privernum, a city of southern Latium. Several of the early Plautii appearing in the Fasti Consulares carried on war against the Privernaites. Praenomina. The earlier Plautii mainly used the praenomina Lucius and Gaius, and occasionally Publius and Marcus. The later Plautii employed different names. The Laterani seem to have used only Aulus and Quintus, while the Silvani used Marcus and Tiberius. Branches and cognomina. The only distinct family of the Plautii during the Middle Republic bore the surname Vena or Venox, a hunter. Frontinus describes a story in which Gaius Plautius, censor in 312 BC, obtained the surname Venox by discovering the springs that fed the Aquilpia, Rome's first aqueduct. However, Veno occurs before this and appears more often in the Fasti. The first of this family to obtain the consulship bore the additional surname Hypsias, later spelled Ipsias on coins, which was evidently a personal cognomen, as it does not appear again for over a century, when this name replaces the older Veno. Proculus, which occurs as the surname of the first Plautius to obtain the consulship, also seems to have been a personal surname. It is not apparent whether this Plautius was part of the same family as the Venons. Proculus was an old praenomen, which the Roman antiquarians supposed to have been given to a child born when his father was far from home, although morphologically it seems to be a diminutive of Proca. Two families of Plautii were entangled in the affairs of the imperial family during the 1st century. The earlier of these, which first appears in the later years of the Republic, and flourished until the time of Nero, bore the surname Lateranus, at least in its later generations. This surname was probably inherited through a female line, and did not apply to the earlier members. This was the family of Aulus Plautius, the first Roman governor of Britain. The other family bore the cognomen Silvanus, originally referring to one who dwells in the forest. The imperial Plautii of the late 2nd century may have been descended from one of these families through marriage, but were apparently descended from the Titii in the male line, and used Plautius because of its greater dignity. Many of the Plautii bore no surname. These seem to have used the alternative spelling Plotius more than the others. Members. This list includes abbreviated praenomina. For an explanation of this practice, see filiation. Publius Plautius, the grandfather of Gaius Plautius Proculus, consul in 357 BC. Publius P.F. Plautius, the father of Gaius Plautius Proculus. Gaius Plautius P.F. P.N. Proculus, consul in 358 BC, defeated the Hernici and was honored with a triumph. In 356, he was magister equitum to Gaius Marcius Rutilius, the first plebeian dictator. Gaius Plautius P.F. P.N. Decianus, consul in 329 BC, undertook the war with Privernum and captured the city, for which he received a triumph. He was censor in 312 with Appius Claudius Caecus. At the expiration of the traditional term of 18 months, Decianus resigned his office, but Claudius refused to do the same, remaining in office as sole censor for the ancient term of 5 years. Plautia venans et Hypsii. Lucius Plautius Veno, the grandfather of Gaius Plautius Veno Hypsius, consul in 347 and 341 BC. Lucius Plautius L.F. Veno, the father of Gaius Plautius Veno Hypsius. Gaius Plautius L.F. L.N. Veno Hypsius, consul in 347 BC, and again in 341. In the latter year he defeated the Privernaites and forced a withdrawal of the Volsci, whose land he plundered. Lucius Plautius L.F. L.N. Veno, consul in 330 BC, fought against the Privernaites and the Fundani. Lucius Plautius L.F. L.N. Veno, consul in 318 BC, received the hostages sent by Tete and Canusium, 2 towns in Apulia. Gaius Plautius C.F. C.N. Venox, censor in 312, with Appius Claudius Caecus. At the expiration of the traditional term of 18 months, Plautius resigned his office, but Claudius refused to do the same, remaining in office as sole censor for the ancient term of 5 years. Lucius Plautius Hypsius, praetor in 189 BC, obtained the province of Hispania Citerior. Lucius Plautius Hypsius, triumvir monetalis between 194 and 190 BC, probably the son of Lucius Plautius Hypsius, praetor in 189 BC. Gaius Plautius Hypsius, praetor in 146 BC, was assigned the province of Hispania Ulterior. He was severely defeated twice by Viriathus and forced into exile after returning to Rome. Lucius Plautius L.F. Hypsius, praetor in Sicily during the First Servile War, was defeated by the slaves. Broughton tentatively places his praetorship in 139 BC. Marcus Plautius Hypsius, consul in 125 BC, was appointed to redistribute portions of the Ager Publicus that had been illegally occupied. Cicero criticizes Plautius' understanding of the law. Gaius Plautius C.F. Hypsius triumvir monetalis in 121 BC. His coins bear the inscription Plautii, the only instance of this spelling. Marcus Plautius Hypsius, praetor or propraetor in Asia in an uncertain year before 90 BC, and perhaps a legate under Sulla. He might be the same Plautius who took his own life on returning from Asia, only to learn of the death of his wife Orstilla. Publius Plautius Hypsius, an ally of Gnaeus Pompeius, under whom he had served as quaestor. He was a candidate for the consulship in 54 BC, but at the trial of Titus Annius Milo, Hypsius' slaves confessed under torture that he had committed bribery in order to win election, and he was banished. Plautia Laterani. Quintus Plautius A.F., a senator and ambassador in Crete in 113 BC. He very likely belonged to the Laterani as his praenomen, and that of his father, Aulus, are only found among them. Aulus Plautius Varus, tribune of the plebs in 70 BC, and legate in Sicily and the Adriatic Sea under Pompey in 67. The cognomen Varus found in Appian is probably a mistake. He might have been the same as Aulus Plautius, tribune of the plebs in 56 BC, or his father. Aulus Plautius, tribune of the plebs in 56 BC, curule aedile in 55, praetor urbanus in 51, and subsequently propraetor of Bithynia and Pontus. He was a friend of Cicero and supported Pompey. He also minted coins during his aedileship. Aulus Plautius A.F., a consul suffectus in 1 BC. Plautia A.F. A.N., a married Publius Petronius. Aulus Plautius A.F. A.N., a consul suffectus from the Kalends of July in AD 29, was subsequently sent by Claudius to invade Britain and conquered the southern part of the island, becoming its first governor. He was granted an ovation on his return in 47 and shown great favor by the emperor. Quintus Plautius A.F. A.N., a consul in AD 36. Plautius Q.F. A.N. Lateranus one of the paramours of the Empress Messalina. He was pardoned by Claudius out of respect for his famous uncle. Consul-elect for AD 66, he participated in the conspiracy of Piso and was put to death, bravely refusing to reveal the names of his fellow conspirators. Plautia Laterana, wife of Publius Quinctilius Varus the Younger. Aulus Plautius, a young man put to death by Nero. Plautii Silvani. Marcus Plautius Silvanus, tribune of the plebs in 89 BC, passed a law which granted Roman citizenship to all the Italian allies, and another which limited the number of equestrian jurors in the courts. Marcus Plautius M.F. A.N. Silvanus, consul in 2 BC. Publius Plautius M.F. M.N. Pulcher, quaestor in 31 BC. He was the second son of Marcus Plautius Silvanus. Aulus Plautius Urgulanius died at the age of 9. Marcus Plautius M.F. M.N. Silvanus, praetor in AD 24, was condemned to death for having murdered his second wife, Apronia. His first wife, Fabia Numentina, was charged with having caused his insanity through the use of witchcraft, but was acquitted. Plautia M.F. M.N. Urgulanilla, the first wife of Claudius. Tiberius Plautius M.F. M.N. Silvanus Alienus, consul suffectus from the calends of March to the calends of July in AD 45. In 74, he was chosen consul for the second time, replacing Vespasian on the Ides of January and serving with Titus until the Ides of May. Lucius alias Lamia Plautius Ti. F. M.N. Alienus, consul suffectus in AD 80, replacing Domitian on the Ides of January and serving until the calends of March. Arch. Others: Publius Plautius Rufus, Novius Plautius, a skilled metalworker who probably lived about the middle of the 3rd century BC. Many of his caskets have been found at Praeneste. Plautius, a comic poet. According to Varro, he was frequently confused with Plautus, to whom his comedies were mistakenly attributed. Lucius Plotius Gallus came to Rome from Cisalpine Gaul circa 88 BC to establish the first school for Latin and rhetoric. He was very influential on the development of Roman rhetoric and authored arguments for some of the leading advocates of his day. He was highly regarded by the young Cicero. Marcus Plotius, one of Caesar's envoys to the proconsul Lucius Cornelius Lentulus Cruz in 48 BC, who urged him to leave Pompeius, but to no effect. Lucius Plautius Plancus, born Gaius Manatius Plancus, but adopted by one of the Plautii. He was the brother of Lucius Manatius Plancus, consul in 42, Titus Manatius Plancus Bursa, a partisan of Marcus Antonius, and Gnaeus Manatius Plancus, praetor in 43. Claudius was proscribed by the triumvirs and gave himself up to preserve the lives of his slaves, who were being tortured to reveal his hiding place. Plotius Numida fought in the Cantabrian Wars. His safe return to Italy was celebrated by his friend, the poet Horace, in one of his odes. Gaius Plautius Rufus, one of the triumviri monetalis during the time of Augustus. He may be the same person as the conspirator. Plotius Tucca, a friend of the poets Horace and Virgil. Virgil named him one of his heirs, to whom he gave his unfinished writings, including the manuscript of the Aeneid. Plautius Rufus, one of those who conspired against Augustus. He may be the same as Gaius Plautius Rufus. Plotius Firmus, one of Otho's allies, who rose from humble beginnings to become praetorian prefect. He successfully quelled a mutiny through a combination of personal charisma and bribery, and encouraged the emperor to be brave and trust in his army. Plotius Griffus, one of Vespasian's supporters, appointed praetor in AD 70. Plautius, a notable jurist, who must have lived about the time of Vespasian. Plautius Quintilis, consul in 81-59, married Sionia Fabia, the sister of Lucius Verus. Lucius Titius Plautius Aquilinus, consul in 81-62. Marcus Peducius Plautius Quintilis, consul in 81-37, with his brother-in-law, Commodus. He was an augur and one of Commodus' trusted advisers, but escaped the wrath of his successors until 205, when Septimius Severus ordered his death. Plautius M.F. Quintillus, son of Marcus Pegicius Plautius Quintillus, and nephew of Commodus. Plautilla Servilia, daughter of Quintillus, and niece of Commodus. Marius Plotius Sacerdos, a late Latin grammarian, probably belonging to the 5th or 6th centuries, and the author of Demetris Liber, originally the third part of a treatise on grammar. Footnotes: